Good morning. This is activity 45. I know that most of you have already read through this introduction along with your teacher. It's called The World of Microbes. So I'm not going to read this section, but it presumes that you've done activity 44 and you've looked at who's who. Scrolling down, you can see some different critters. The ever-popular wolf, and there is some sort of grizzly-looking worm. Anyway, let's keep going. So before you begin, you should have completed the before column of the student sheet 45.1 in the anticipation guide, diseases and prevention. And the first section is called classifying organisms. People have invented classification systems to organize and make sense of the many types of living things on Earth. As information changes, new classification systems evolve. In Activity 44, Who's Who, you grouped the micro-life cards based on the physical appearance of the microbes. Until recently, scientists classified organisms based on their appearance into 5 groups called kingdoms. You are most familiar with the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. A third kingdom is made up of fungi. The fungi include yeasts, like the one you used in Activity 39, Cells Alive, molds, mushrooms as well. Protists and bacteria, like the ones you observed in Activity 43, Microbes Under View, belong to 2 additional kingdoms. New evidence led later scientists to classify organisms into 6 groups, dividing the bacteria kingdom into 2 groups called bacteria and archaea, or archaea. Although archaea are made up of a single cell and look like the bacteria that you saw under the microscope, they are genetically distinct from bacteria. They are believed to be the oldest form of life, and most of them live in environments that bacteria could not survive in. Archaea can live in extremely salty conditions like the Great Salt Lake in Utah. They can live in volcanoes and deep sea vents where the conditions are very acidic and extremely hot. Because archaea are so different from other living organisms, in 1990, many scientists proposed the 3-domain system. The 3-domain system divides all living things into 3 groups: archaea, bacteria, and eukaryote domains. The eukaryote domain is made up of all living things that have cells with a nucleus. The eukaryote domain includes animals, plants, fungi, and protists. Because archaea and bacteria do not have a nucleus, they are considered to be prokaryotes. Both the 5 and 6 kingdom classifications grouped organisms by their physical characteristics, while the 3-domain system groups organisms by their genetic similarity. As scientists have continued to collect evidence, the 3-domain system has been widely accepted. The 3-domain system and its relationship to the older 5-kingdom system are shown in the diagram on the next page. So here's the diagram that they're talking about. Here are the eukaryotes and the prokaryotes. The eukarya, organisms with cells that have a nucleus. We can see that there's the amoeba, there's the paramecium, the fungi, plants, and animals. And then in the prokaryotes, you have the bacteria and the archaea. The 5-kingdom classification system, if we have bacteria as one group, protists as another, fungi, and plants, and animals. At this point, push the pause button so that you can respond to the stopping to think questions in your book. Welcome back. This particular section is called protists. Protists, as you know, because we've talked about them, are single-celled microbes that have a nucleus. While some protists cause illnesses, many others are harmless. The trypanosoma that you observed in Activity 43 is closely related to another type of trypanosoma that causes sleeping sickness in people. Species of paramecium are often harmless, living in fresh and salt water where they feed on bacteria, algae, and other protists. Many types of amoeba are harmless, while others cause illnesses of the digestive system. The next section is bacteria. Bacteria are single-celled microbes that do not have a nucleus, and you already knew that. Bacteria are also the most common microbes and can be found everywhere, in snow, deserts, lakes, the ocean, and the human body. As you may recall, bacteria are extremely tiny. 1,000 bacteria could fit into a cluster on the dot of an eye. There are more bacterial cells in your digestive system and on your skin than the number of cells that make up your entire body. A pretty amazing fact there. Well, some bacteria, such as good luck with this one, Mycobacterium tuberculosis, cause diseases. Other species of bacteria are helpful. In fact, without bacteria, nothing would ever decompose. The world would be full of dead organisms, from the tiniest microbes to large plants and animals. Bacteria also are important in the preparation of foods and beverages. You may have noticed a statement on some yogurt containers contains live and active yogurt cultures. That's because yogurt is produced by the fermentation of milk by bacteria. The table on the next page shows the shapes and some information about different kinds of bacteria. Again, pause and read the stop to think and respond to it in your online notebook. Here's the chart that they were talking about. You can see that here are some common types of bacteria. The sphere, you can see some there. Some are familiar to you. Streptococcus cause strep throat. You can see the rod shapes, bacilli, and mycobacteria. You can see some of the things that they do and their uses, some good, some harmful. You can see the curved rods, the short spirals, the long spirals, and the branched chains. So bacteria are grouped by their shapes, and you can see some are good, some are not so good. And it here tells you also about that one that you looked at. The cocci are spherical bacteria, and again, the singular of cocci is coccus. Here is the next group that is talked about in the world of microbes, viruses. They are a group apart because, for many reasons, but viruses are not made of cells. They don't perform most of the functions, such as respiration, that cells do. Viruses cannot grow or reproduce by themselves. Instead, they must invade living cells to multiply. For this reason, many biologists think of viruses as non-living. However, viruses contain genes and they evolve over time. Some scientists think this means that they are alive. Debate about how to classify viruses is likely to continue for some time. It is because of this debate that we say microbes and not microorganisms cause infectious diseases. Here's the size of the virus compared to the size of the bacterium, compared to the size of the protist. These aren't actual sizes, these are relative sizes, which just gives you an idea of how small one is compared to the other two. So at this point, again, stopping to think, pause, respond to these questions in your online notebook. How do we know viruses exist? The existence of viruses was first suggested in 1898, nearly 45 years before they were first seen. In 1895, Dutch scientist Martinus Beijerinck began experimenting with the tobacco plant. He was studying a plant disease that he believed to be infectious. By this time, scientists were familiar with protists and bacteria, so Beijerinck began searching for a bacterium that might be causing this disease, but he couldn't find one. Yet his experiments demonstrated that the disease could be passed from plant to plant, so he concluded that the disease was caused by a microbe. I wonder, is that really good evidence or not? Since it wasn't a protist or a bacterium, it was called a virus, which means poison in Latin. Viruses are so small that you need an electron microscope to see one. The electron microscope was not invented until the 1930s. As a result, viruses were first seen in 1939. Today we know that viruses cause many diseases, including the flu, colds, chickenpox, and AIDS. Now it talks about this chart. And it says this chart shows the 5-kingdom classification plus viruses. Note the examples of diseases caused by members of each group. What do you think the dotted lines mean? That's a question that you certainly should ponder and think about. So we have the cause disease, multicellular, unicellular, not a cell. We have animals, plants, and fungi, protists, bacteria, and archaea, and viruses. Look at the diseases that are caused by each of those and take note of that. So here are the analysis questions. At this point, you're supposed to fill in the after column for statements 1 through 4, only on sheet 45.1. Take that back. There should have been a comma there. Statements 1 through 4 on sheet 45.1. Don't worry about the rest. We will talk about these analysis questions and what you're going to do with them together. Anyway, I hope that you have a good rest of the day, and thank you. I got to turn this off somehow. I don't see it there.